there an intro from the county folks that we're waiting on?
I'll give an intro for ready. Welcome everyone. I'm Kalia Parrish. The I'm a management analyst with the Human Services Agency Center on Homelessness. I know many of you. And our agency, among other things, serves as the COC lead agency, and part of that role includes partnering with Homebase to offer these trainings. So first, I want to thank you all for attending, and thank you for all the work you do for members of our community experiencing homelessness, and the work you do with landlords to help folks move into housing and remain stably housed. We're fortunate to have Homebase here offering this training on the new Nspire standard, replacing HQS. Last we heard as of October 1st, so it's coming up. So we wanted to make sure everyone's aware of the changes. But I'll let Homebase speak to where we're at with that, and I'll hand it over to them to start the training.
Hello all, I'm gonna share my screen. I will not be able to see anything once I start sharing, so
While you're doing that, Nicole, I'll just introduce myself. I know you're going to introduce our whole Homebase team that I just posted in chat. I'm Deborah Edelman. I work along with Nicole and Garen at Homebase, and I'm going to be keeping an eye on the chat and any questions that come up today. So just wanted to point that out.
awesome. Thank you, Deborah. Hi, everyone. So I'm Nicole McCrae-Dickerson. I'm a senior directing analyst at Homebase. I am going to, for the most part, present this training today. Just want you to know I have like 20 years background at a housing authority here in California, actually San Francisco Housing Authority. I did many, many jobs, but this has been a great experience kind of diving into Nspire and sharing this information with you. I'm pretty sure you all, Deborah just introduced herself. Garen, you wanna?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Garen. Yeah, I'll be here kind of similar to Devra, kind of helping in the background. If you have any questions at any point, if something's going haywire, like technology-wise, please feel free to reach out to me or Devra. We're happy to help. Thanks for being here, everybody.
Thank you. So, what are we gonna do today? So, as an outline, we're gonna kind of do an overview of Nspire, talk about some key changes from the HQS inspections, some key components of Nspire, and then at the end, we're gonna have some actionable steps to achieve compliance, which should be fun. And all these things are to help you all kind of understand the new Nspire standards, what they are, like the key features, the compliance dates, components, help you know the difference between HQS and Nspire standards, also to understand and be prepared to implement the relevant compliance steps for housing providers, landlords, and such. And then be able to work together with the residents and the property owners to ensure housing units and properties are safe, healthy, and have structural integrity. Ooh, that was a mouthful. So I like to have interactive trainings. Deborah and Garen were like, Nicole, make sure people aren't going to sleep on you. That's a good idea. So we're going to do a little Minty today. So please get your phones out or log in on your computer. The login information is at the top. There's a code. If you go to minty.com, put in the code. You can also scan the, it won't let me do it. But anyway, you can scan the, Why is it not working? See? Oh, scan the code, which is nice. I always like a good scan. I'm a QR code fanatic. Anytime I can use one or see one, I've even got my little grandson. Oh, there's a QR code, scan it. All right, so first we want to know who's in the room. So let's start with introducing yourselves in this room, in this space. Name, pronouns, organizations, not in the chat. We're going to do it in the Menti. We're all learning something new today. And then I would like to know your favorite TV, movie, inspector, or detective. So as you all start entering, things will start popping up on the screen. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. I see people looking at phones. Leah, I see you. All right. Shane. All right. Winner. Ding, ding, ding. First person. Oh, Veronica Mars. I don't even know who that is. We may have to do some coming off mute and talking about who these people are. I was kind of a Magnum PI fan back in the day. He was good. Like moves. 1, 2, 3. Mayor of East. Yes, yes. Grey's Anatomy. Okay. We're missing some people. Garen, Deborah, are y'all playing along?
Yep, Mare was mine.
Okay. All right. All right. Got 7. Should I be playing along too? Oh. It's a lot for me. Maybe I won't do it because I'll just get all turned around. Who's missing? Okay. I think we're all. Leslie, all that thinking I saw you doing and you're not sure? Come on. Yes, 9 out of 9. All right. Anybody want to come off mute and talk about their favorite detective inspector? Shane, I'm gonna call you out. In, out, in, out. Who is Veronica Mars?
Veronica Mars, if anybody's familiar with the actress Kristen Bell, she did the voice of Anna in Frozen as well as several other sort of TV projects and movies. But it was her first big thing back in like the early 2000s.
Okay.
I think it was only a short-lived show, maybe 2 or 3 years, but it was a really good sort of film noir, high school level sort of detective.
Nice. Anybody else? Jodie Foster. Deborah, who's Jodie Foster? Are you talking about the
True Detective.
Okay.
What was her what was it? Callie?
Okay.
Yeah.
Gina.
Yes.
Oh, Silence of the Lambs.
Yes.
Okay. Are the lambs still crying, Clarice? Yes, yes.
Exactly.
Kalia.
Hercule Poirot from I was blanking on the name of the It's like a series. They're doing the third movie, which is a remake.
It's a remake?
It's like Murder on the Orient Express.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. No,
okay.
yeah, the
those
classics.
things,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Garen, you were off mute. So that's the mayor of
Mayor of East Town, putting
yes.
my Philly accent on.
Who did I miss? Leslie? That's not going, not sure. Come on.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry, I had to step away really quick, so I figured I would do this in person. Hi, everyone. My name's Allison. I'm with Life Moves. With San Mateo County Rapid Rehousing. And the question is it a best movie or best show?
Actually, your favorite detective, Inspector, TV
Oh,
movie Inspector or
ooh,
detective.
okay. Um,
Since we're talking about inspections.
I like it. I can't even think of the show right now. I'm gonna Google it real quick and I'm gonna throw it in the chat.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Leslie, have you figured out someone yet? As you marinate in the redwoods, that's a nice background.
No, but these are very good options to
Okay.
watch, so I can figure out if then I have a favorite one
All
after I
right.
watch. Thank
All
you.
right. Carlos.
Hello,
Oh,
my name is Carlos Miranda. I'm with Rapid Rehousing here at Life Moves. I just put The Godfather up there, but really I have many. I have a few detectives that I like. I can't think of anyone right now, but I think of like Rush Hour, Jackie Chan, and
okay.
I like comedy, so yeah, definitely Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker is one of my top Rush Hour probably. I would say with Rush Hour.
Okay. All right. All
Thank
right.
you.
Did I get everybody? Thank you, Carlos. All right. So today we're here to talk about Nspire. So how are you feeling about Nspire right now? Give me one word, 2 words. I think you can do 2. How are you feeling? No feelings? Okay. All right. Any other feelings? Apprehensive? It's supposedly supposed to go live in a couple of weeks. Curious? Okay. Interested. Are you all doing the inspections now? HQS inspections? Excited? Anything else? About half of you. Curious, ready to learn. Okay. That's good. There's lots of learning, lots of hearing Nicole talk. So we'll see how you feel at the end. Anybody else want to put something in? How they're feeling? Anything else? All right. We will move on. So as part of the overview, want to talk about the background. We have the Nspire standards. There's a link to those that will be shared later. We have lots of resources, lots of places where you can tap into Nspire on the HUD website. But again, this is just to give you some of the key features, some compliance dates. And then this section also is going to talk about some of the key differences between HQS and Nspire. All right. So the national standards for the physical inspection of real estate, Nspire, isn't that a mouthful? Is going to update HUD's 20-year-old inspection models. So there are several inspection models. So there's the SPCS that they use for public housing. There's HQS that's used for the HCV or housing choice voucher programs. The final rule was May of 2023, and the current standards were then published in June 22nd of 2023. So these standards prioritize health, safety, and functional and structural defects of the properties and units that our folks are living in. The Nspire puts a focus on areas that impact residents the most. And which is one of the big things about Nspire is that it aligns the inspection standards across HUD housing. So HUD has all these different standards for different programs. And so it was very confusing for everyone. I was, 20 years ago, I was at a housing authority. So just different standards. Public housing had one, housing choice voucher had another. If we had shelter plus care in our portfolio, there was something totally different. So Nspire kind of brings it all together in this happy form. So the key features of Nspire is the emphasis on health and safety for residents. Residents are supposed to be very informed about these outcomes. It's simplified and consolidated inspection standards. When you see it, you'll say, that's not really standardized and it's not simplified, but it really is compared to the old HQS standards. These inspections will be more frequent and risk-based inspections. So instead of inspectors going out and doing it annually or biannually or every 3 years or however often the admin plan says, these inspections will take place on a more frequent and risk-based factors that inspectors see in these units. And the standards that are printed and published on HUD's websites are very specific to make sure that that happens. And it's going to focus on the unit level deficiencies over broader property levels. So HQS really focused on environment and things on the outside, where Nspire is more property level issues. So inside, outside, and the unit, which we'll get into. So this next slide talks about Nspire compliance dates. So HCV, PBV, Section 8, rehab, CPD programs, all those programs have an effective date of October 1st. Yet, we have heard that housing authorities have gotten letters to executive directors that say this date is being pushed out till February of 2027. Is that correct, Deborah?
Yes, that is the word on the street, so to say. We haven't heard anything about the CPD programs, but we have heard about the housing choice voucher and project-based vouchers.
And so one of the things that has been there in the instructions in the regs for Nspire, there were instructions for COCs, ESG, and HOPWA programs that said that there was going to be this that something was going to come out that was going to be very specific for these programs, whether it's going to be a checklist or some additional rules or regulations that were supposed to come out, but they haven't. So we are gonna assume that until they come out, well, I don't even think that. I think today we will figure out some way to move forward. So this is gonna be just a high level, and then there's gonna need to be some more specific trainings as it pertains to like specific inspections and checklists and all that kind of stuff that we can and will speak about later. So some of the key differences between HQS and Nspire. So the inspection focus for HQS was checklist based. So, you had your clipboard, you were going around, you were checking things. And Nspire is more outcome based and focused on the condition and safety of a unit. There's deficiency categories with Nspire. They were less standardized in HQS, so there are like specific categories for each standard of Nspire. So there's life-threatening, severe, moderate, and low. With each of those categories, there's a date range, so 30 days, 24 hours. There's specific times that things have to be mitigated. For HQS, those inspections were typically annually. Nspire is going to be risk-based. So it's going to vary depending on the unit and how the unit is inspected, and then the deficiencies are graded. And then the level of detail was just general for HQS. And so we're going to be more granular with Nspire, and especially at the unit level. Resident experience was not prioritized with HQS. And so, as we know with CPD programs and HUD now, well, at least with the last administration, there was a big thing on lived experience, how folks who go through things feel. This is going to be an example of where HUD, puts their money where their mouth is. And so these resident experiences are going to be central to this inspection standards. So some of the changes that are unchanged from the HCV is that they're still the same type of inspection. So initial, special, turnover, periodic, annual. These inspections will be done depending on what the admin plan says for HCV. Annual, every other year, every 3 years, or just a sampling that happens when you have project-based voucher units. Inspections, as in HQS, can be done by the housing authority, by contractors, and even independent entities can do those inspections. And again, I don't believe that HQS or inspectors for HUD programs have to be certified. They are typically, but I don't think that is a rule that has to be followed. Allowance for HUD approved variation. So some housing authorities use Nspire, but then they have more strict codes that kind of will follow like city and county codes and conditions. And so that can still happen with Nspire. Alternative inspection methods, so inspections of other types of housing assistance. There are special housing types that, and then enforcement of the HAP. So the HAP being enforced through the inspection process is still happening, and residents are still obligated to follow the family obligations that HUD has. Uh-oh, not another quiz. Yes. What does Nspire stand for? National Standards for Physical Inspections, National System for Property and Infrastructure Regulations, Nationwide Survey of Public and Inspected Residential Establishments, New Safety Programs, I can't even read what that says, Internal Real Estate. What? A, B, C, or D? All right, we got 5 folks who taken the quiz. Probably better if you just leave your Menti open so that you can. I turned off the race to the finish on this. Next time we'll do racing and points and winners. All right. Anyone else want to take the quiz? All right. The answer is national standards for physical inspections in real estate. So it's A. I think we got one more. What is the current compliance date for Nspire? And the -V is for voucher program. So we've got February 1st, 2027. We've got October 1st, 2025. We got who knows. And lastly, any day we want. I like the 4th option. Did somebody change their answer? Is that what happened? Come on, pick a date, any date. Five folks of the 9. All right. So as of last night, when I did the Menti, it was October 1st, 2025. But with the news that we got today, it could be February 1st, 2027. So I think both are right at this point until we get further clarification. Is that cheating? I think so, but that's okay. Things change in the moment. All right. Last one, I think, for this section.
Well, and just, well,
Yeah.
The February 1st, 2027, that was for housing authorities for their HCV programs.
Yeah.
So far for COC, CSG, HAPWA, like we're still looking at the October 1st implementation date. Unless we hear before then.
Yes, I think we are looking at the October 1st, just to be on the safe side, but we are feverishly trying to find out from those in the know of whether or not the COC CPD programs are going to be extended to February 1st, along with the housing choice voucher program.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it could be both. So what are the key features of Nspire? Emphasis on health and safety outcomes, simplified and consolidated inspection standards, more frequent and risk-based inspections, focus on unit level deficiencies over broader property level issues. Oop, there's a typo. Or all of the above. And our answer is, everybody finish? See if we move one more time. One more time. All of the above is the right. All right. Let's keep moving. So Nspire has components. Part of the components are the inspectable areas of the inspections, the building types, which are not very different from the HQS, deficiency categories and timeframes. And then there's a core health and safety focus in Nspire. And so I'm going to touch on 6 of the 8 that are kind of important. So the inspectable areas for Nspire are outside, inside, and the unit-specific inspections. So outside is all the structures and components that the tenant can access. So depending on the type of building that we're talking about, it could be, you know, porches, decks, fences, sidewalks, garage. Outside. Inside talks about all the common areas and the building systems that the tenant can access. Laundry rooms, community rooms, gyms, boiler rooms, utility rooms are also part of that inside. And lastly is the interior component, which is where the tenant dwells. So their unit, living unit, all the rooms, all the sleeping areas, the kitchen, and the bathroom. So these next couple of slides tell the story of what those specific things that inspectors need to look at outside of the unit. Down towards the bottom in the highlighted area, during the demonstration period of Nspire, these were the things that failed a lot. HUD put these in as those things that failed a lot. So electrical, handrails, trip hazards always were a lot of the deficiencies that properties had. Steps and stairs, guardrails. One of the things that happened over the last several weeks was I took the HUD test to, you know, get myself familiarized with Nspire. And boy, 3 inches, 2 inches wide, not wide, it was a lot. So again, this is very high level. There are some specifics for each one of these areas of inspection that inspector will need to know, but it's not something that can be taught in 2 hours, let alone 8 hours. I think some of the inspection trainings go for a few days and then have a test at the end. So this is the outside. For the inside, these are the things that folks, inspectors will be looking at. So exit signs, handrails, toilets, and this is in the broader inside. So if there's community rooms, if there are laundry rooms, trip hazards, all that needs to be looked at on those areas in which the client or the resident lives in, especially if it's in a multi-family dwelling. And again, down at the bottom in the highlighted area are those standards that failed a lot during the demonstration period. So windows, elevators, ceilings, floors. I don't see anything that is different from HQS inspections that fail a lot. And so lastly is the unit specific. A lot of these standards are the same as the inside, but these are specific to the unit in which the resident lives in. And at the bottom, once again, are those things that failed a lot. Tubs and showers. There's something about, you know, if the tub is staying more than 50%, that it has to fail. Yeah, so there's just like very specific things that I'm not going to get into during this training. So the building types is very important because it tells the inspector, you know, what needs to be looked at for each of those areas that they inspect. So I think these are pretty much the same as HQS. So multifamily refers to a high rise or a low rise where there's more than 2 residential units. A duplex is where there's 2 units. And then the standalone single family is just where a single family lives in there. And so a house is usually what the single family dwelling is. Another thing that needs to be highlighted is the health and safety determinations. And so these are the determinations that inspectors will have to use as they inspect units. So life-threatening, which has to be repaired or mitigated in 24 hours. Life-threatening, it talks about high risk of death or severe illness. So there is very specific, I think that was one of the things that's different about HQS, is that difference in being very specific as to why something is life-threatening, why something is severe. So severe has to be cured within 30 days, high risk of permanent disability or serious injury or illness to the resident. Moderate is 30 days, which is the same as severe. But in this case, the moderate risk of, is just a medical event requiring a healthcare visit, and it's not serious. And then lastly is low. And in these cases, it's just for informational purposes, but it is written down or documented in the inspection. And it's very important that those low determinations are discussed with the resident and the owner after the inspection. We got another one. What are the Nspire inspectable areas? Life-threatening, severe, moderate, low. Are they the multifamily, duplex family, single family, or is it outside, inside, in the unit? Oh, come on, you guys are all answering it. That was an easy one. Awesome. So great, nice job. It is outside, inside, and the unit. I would like for you to prioritize the health and safety determinations. Let's do from lowest to highest. Moderate, life-threatening, low, severe. What's the right order? So I think on your phone or on your computer, you put them in the right order and you can move them around and then submit. Okay. That seems about right. Awesome. So the next thing I had was break. Do we need a break? Does anybody need a break?
No.
No. Was that you saying no? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's keep going so then we can get to the breakout rooms.
We do have one vote for a break in the chat.
All right. Do we want to break? Those, let's do it.
Have it.
Do the process. Those who would like a break, can you raise your hand, react with the hand raise? How about those that just want to keep it moving and hand raise?
I don't know how to raise my hand. I'm looking. Reactions.
Reactions, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we want to keep it moving. All right. All right. So we'll just keep moving. Maybe we'll take a break before we do the breakout rooms if we need it. So the focus, health and safety, core health and safety requirements are the next section. There are 8 of them. So there's fire safety, water safety, mold and moisture, carbon monoxide, infestation, lead-based paint, structural, and habitability. Habitability and structural are part of the section we just did, so I'm going to focus on the other 6. And we're going to start with fire safety. So Nspire improves the fire safety standards, which they implemented the National Fire Protection Association 72. So with that, 1 working smoke alarm installed on every floor, at least 1 working smoke alarm outside every sleeping area, and at least 1 working smoke alarm installed inside each sleeping area. When I saw this, I was like, is that the way my house is right now? It is. But anyway, so that's something to think about. It requires mitigation. Fire safety standards require mitigation within 24 hours. And these are applicable to any structure, any dwelling that contains heating source and a space heater in the unit. So the next is the water safety. In terms of Nspire, the EPA is responsible for testing and measuring the water quality. So that is not something that happens during Nspire, but HUD will collect, or the inspectors will collect on behalf of HUD, local water outages and water quality alerts. HUD will record these observations of lead water service lines and HUD assistant properties. So this is just awareness that HUD lets the EPA know, but that is not something that HUD is responsible for. The next standard is mold. So Nspire implores a more thorough method to address mold and moisture. And so some of the things that happen is that it utilizes measurable criteria for mold that can distinguish between various severities. And so there's different levels of mold. One of the things that happens with the standards is that it talks about, each standard talks about timing, what to look for, so that you give it the right designation, whether it's life-threatening or not. Some of the mold provisions also are specific because they're related to inadequate ventilation in bathrooms. And so all the humidity that goes on in there, that is a lot of problems with the mold standard. And then there's a comprehensive standard that talks about leakage, which then can lead to mold. So mold is kind of tricky because there's different standards or provisions that can lead to the mold, and that's the way that the inspector can document them. The other thing about mold is that there's a required inspection tool for mold in the Nspire method or inspections. And so there has to be, the inspectors need to have a moisture meter that they carry with them. And also HUD suggests that these infrared cameras are used during inspections. I don't know how many inspectors or housing authorities are going to carry around infrared cameras, but that is a suggestion from HUD. Nice of them to suggest that, isn't it? Carbon monoxide, a lot of the carbon monoxide standards are similar to the smoke detector standards. And again, this is for fuel burning appliances, fireplaces, and attached private garages. I know when I was going through this training and doing the training, the HUD training, I was, thinking to myself, is this how it works in my house? And so then I started counting carbon monoxide. And I think most fire, what are they called? Smoke detectors and carbon monoxides are together now, right? And a lot of them are wired to your houses, especially the newer houses. But detectors must be installed outside each sleeping area in the immediate vicinity of a bedroom. And additionally, they're required on every occupied level of the dwelling unit. So it's including the basement. So it's very similar to the smoke detectors. So with infestation, there are standards for this as well. There are lots of standards. I think there's like 63 of them. But these are objective criterias, and it's only when the infestation is present. So we're not going around looking for them. It's just, I guess, if they cross your path and they're present. Again, there's several levels of severity based on how many pests you see during the inspection. There are longer time frames usually available if using best practices. And an example of those best practices is the integrated pest management method, where you employ prevention, monitoring, and then safe treatment. And so that is part of that standard. The last one that I'm going to talk about, because we've done the other two previously, is the lead-based paint. So Nspire and lead-based paint, it takes a different approach than the UPCS, which is used in public housing, because a lot of public housing units are built before 1978. It still requires that folks sign the lead safe housing rule. There is usually something in writing that participants have to, or even applicants have to sign, which includes the lead-based safe housing rule. And so for any pre-1978 building, inspectors must visibly check for deteriorated paint in units only when there are children under 6 on the lease. So if there's a child under 6 under lease, the inspector has to check the deteriorated paint to make sure it's not lead-based, or if it is lead-based. And Nspire does not replace HUD's lead safety requirement. So that's part of that document that folks sign at the time of application. So we have another. Which of the following federal agencies has primary responsibility for water quality in the United States? Is it at the EPA, is it HUD, or is it GSA? Awesome. Looks like everybody got it. It is the EPA. Did I give that away? I feel like I was like emphasizing the EPA when I was talking before. Yeah, maybe not. All right. Another quiz question. According to the National Fire Protection Association, which statement is true? A, one working smoke alarm installed in the main living area. B, at least one working smoke alarm outside every sleeping area. Or C, smoke alarms are only required on the top floor and in the basement if a dwelling has multiple units. Yep. Awesome. Correct. It is B, at least one working smoke alarm outside every sleeping area. So if there are 2 rooms across from each other, there can be the smoke alarm in the middle of the 2 rooms. You don't have to put 2 smoke alarms outside those 2 rooms. So like in my house, I have 2 bedrooms. The smoke alarm and the carbon monoxide is like in the middle of the 2 rooms. All right. I think we got another quiz question here. According to regulations concerning lead-based paint in residential units. What is a key requirement for pre-1978 buildings? A, inspectors are required to visually check all units regardless of occupancy for any signs of deteriorated paint. B, lead-based paint must be completely removed from all pre-1978 buildings before children under 6 years old can reside in them. C, in units within pre-1978 buildings where children under the age of 6 reside, inspectors must visually check for deteriorated paint. And D, only buildings constructed before 1960 are subject to visual inspections for deteriorated paint, particularly if children under 6 are present. And as I was reading all that, you all got the right. Awesome. All right, so I think this is, well, second to last section, and this talks about the Nspire standards. So I'm gonna give you a look at the webpage for the standards. There is a template guide, so you know how to read those standards, and then a resource for inspector trainings that are on HUD's website. Can you believe it? So the Nspire webpage, you find all of the standards. There are 63 standards. So where you see address and signage standards, there's like bathtub and shower standard. There's 63 of them on this page. Wait till you see it. So on this page, you can view the standards online on this page. There's a way that you can download them into a zip drive so that you have them on your computer. I did that this morning and I was like, oh, what's all this on my computer? And then it also, the webpage also gives you guidance on how to navigate the standards and how to look them up. It's very easy, it's very self-explanatory, but there is a navigation guide. So each of the Nspire standards, this is talking about the template and how to read this guide. So HUD created these standards to help inspectors and reviewers and other stakeholders like landlords and you all to understand these standards. And so the guide covers the key terms. So it tells you like under each part of the standard, what the title means, what the version means. It gets really down in the details about tools and equipment that are required. It also talks about who you can request help from. So these are really good templates to review once you start the process of doing these Nspire inspections. It talks about how these pages are laid out, and then a quick view of all the sections. And so this is on the right is just the template blown up so that you can see like the black is the thing that you're looking at, the title, but then the blue talks about what it means, what it is for you to understand. And so these standards, again, I don't know if I've said it, but there are 63 of them. I don't know how anybody's supposed to be able to use them, but I do believe that HUD is coming up with a online, like a checklist, kind of like an app for housing authorities to use to help better use these templates, and they'll be more accessible while you're out in the field doing these inspections. I don't think that's happened yet, but HUD has talked about that. And then lastly, there are how to inspect resources. And so HUD has a protocol guide on how to do inspections, which tells you how you should go about these inspections, that you should inspect the outside first, then the inside, and then the unit, that you should go into the unit and go around a room in a counterclockwise manner. And you do each room and you go around the house in that same manner so that you are being very thorough And there's a protocol guide. I think the protocol and guidance, the checklist, that's all in the resources that we'll be sharing with you at the end of this training. And so one of the things that HUD has done is they have these inspection videos that you
The
can
affirmative
watch.
habitability requirements outline HUD's minimum standards for safe, habitable dwellings, meaning all items and components located outside, inside, and in the unit must be functionally adequate, operable, and free of health and safety hazards. While conducting Nspire inspections, verify that all affirmative habitability requirements are met. Record all deficiencies under their corresponding standard. While inspecting all 3 inspectable areas, look for any outlets within 6 feet of a water source, such as a sink or hose bib. If found, confirm they are protected by a ground fault circuit interrupter, or GFCI. If you come to any elevated walking surfaces, like porches, decks, or balconies, ensure that a guardrail is installed for all walking surfaces elevated greater than 30 inches above the surface or grade. While inspecting inside and in the unit, check each bathroom and kitchen for a permanently mounted light fixture. Record a deficiency if any are missing or inoperable. At least one smoke alarm must be installed on every level of the building, as well as inside each bedroom and outside each sleeping area in the unit. Mark deficiencies if any of these requirements are not satisfied. As you move through the inside and unit, look for unvented space heaters that burn gas, oil, or kerosene. If present, record a deficiency. Using an ambient thermometer, measure the interior air temperature 3 feet above the floor and 2 feet from an exterior wall. If the inspection date is on or between October 1st and March 31st, and the temperature in the unit is below 68 degrees Fahrenheit, cite a deficiency. The severity of the deficiency relies on the air temperature measured, so refer to the most current Nspire standards to record the correct HCV health and safety determination. If the permanently installed heating source inside or in the unit is damaged or missing, or is not working or installed, it fails.
So that's just sort of an example of the videos that are on the website. They're very comprehensive and could be very helpful once y'all are ready to start those inspections. The last section of our training, is everybody still awake? Would you like a break now? Keep it moving? Is that what you're saying, G? Oh, break.
If everybody else wants one.
Yeah, let's take a break. Let's do 5 minutes. So let's come back at 2:06. All right. So our last section before we do some digging into actionable steps is talking about compliance and some of the things that can happen so that you are ready for the October 1 or the February 1st, 2027 date. So some of the actionable steps is for you as organizations to review the standards, to conduct internal assessments on where you are in terms of checklists, policies, procedures, training your staff. There needs to be some type of communication with the tenants, communication with property owners, making sure that you have collaboration and support, and then establish how that compliance timeline is going to come to fruition. So first, review those standards. So making sure you familiar yourself with the full Nspire standards. They are available on HUD's website. Again, I say there's 63 of them. There is a checklist that can be downloaded from the HUD website as well, so that there's an inspection checklist. If you have one, updating it so that it flows into the new Nspire standards. In terms of conducting internal assessments, so there should be some pre-inspections done on units using inspired criteria to identify and address deficiencies, getting folks familiar with those areas that need to be inspected and repaired. In a lot of instances, these internal assessments are done, especially for like project-based voucher units that housing authorities have, making sure that there's a maintenance plan that's targeted towards those Nspire deficiencies, making sure that egresses are proper, sanitation is proper, that electricals are safe. And then just schedule some regular inspection that addresses preventative maintenance before those things become, issues. So being proactive instead of reactive. Updating your policies and procedures, which should address Nspire, not HQS. Updating those maintenance schedules and inspection protocols that are going to change to Nspire, and then implementing robust documentation practices so that you're tracking your inspections, repairs, and all those resident reports that were on the HQS rotation, but now go to this Nspire specific routine. Training staff is another thing that is actionable. Making sure that there are training sessions for your staff, for those maintenance folks, anybody who is inspecting units, making sure that they understand the protocols and those expectations that are going to follow for Nspire. Offer training sessions, refresher courses, make sure that everybody understands the compliance for Nspire, and make sure that it's not one training, it's 2 trainings, making sure you're asking your staff regularly what they need, whether it's the tools they need to do the inspections, or software, letters, those type of things. Communicating with tenants and property owners, like I talked about earlier, this Nspire is very tenant resident focused. And so making sure that you inform your residents and your landlords about this new system and how it can contribute to safer living environments for folks would be really helpful. But also, this would also start that clear communication so that residents can start reporting those issues that they have. Landlords will start reporting issues that they have. And so then it's more, again, responsive to landlords and residents, and being proactive and not reactive. So getting those communications out to them timely before you actually start the Nspire inspections would be very helpful. make sure there's lots of collaboration and support. Local housing authorities, I'm not sure about San Mateo, but housing authorities and COCs should work very closely together to have best practices and resources that each of you can use to make sure that this Nspire rollout is effective. Make sure that you utilize all of the training materials, the webinars. I think there is a section on the Nspire website where you can request technical assistance. Also, home base is open to providing technical assistance on some of these things, but it's really important that you use the website, the webinars, there's trainings, there is also, like I talked about earlier, a section on the website where you can go on and take like an actual training, HUD training course, take a quiz, and then you get this little cute HUD certificate that said, test. So that's also available. And then depending on what we come up with in terms of the compliance deadline, October 1st. I know everybody's sick of October 1st, February 1st, 2027. Once we establish that firm deadline, like figuring out what are the key milestones, working backwards so that you make sure that you're in full compliance for those compliance dates. And then conduct periodic reviews and start doing those mock interviews so that everybody is ready for the compliance date once it hits. So I think now we're going to do some discussion around implementation of Nspire. If you all have questions, I'll be happy to answer those as best I can, or I am open to like figuring out, trying to find those answers for you if I don't have them. But in the meantime, I think it's going to be important for you all as a group in San Mateo to start talking about or thinking about, like, what is the purpose and vision of this Nspire compliance, being in compliance? Some of maybe the risk and resources. These are just things I came up with. You can change if you like. And then the roles and responsibilities to have an effective rollout of Nspire. So I'm going to turn it over to, I think, Garen and Deborah now to maybe figure out how we're going to do this moving forward.
You mean the breakout rooms, Nicole?
Yes.
My recommendation would maybe be that we stick in this group just because we're such a small group.
Okay.
I see 5 folks other than the HSA folks who are in the training today, so it might make sense to, just have one conversation as a group, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's fine. And I did do a Menti also for us to start putting some thoughts down around the implementation of Nspire in San Mateo County, if that would be helpful. But this is y'all's show.
I think to get started, I'm actually just wondering if you all want to maybe just tell us a little bit more about, like, what is your role in housing inspection? How does Nspire relate to your work? I know I heard from a few of y'all that you're working with rapid rehousing programs. So yeah, let's popcorn around and tell each other kind of what our role is with all of this. Do I need to call on someone?
I can go ahead and start.
Thanks, Allison.
So I feel like as a rapid rehousing case manager, me and Carlos work really close together. Alex is our program director. So we're all kind of collaborative. I feel like this is it's gonna be a little bit of a change, but me and Carlos, we do literally everything. We do the intake, we're the intake specialists, we're the housing search, specialists, we're the you know, the primary communication between the property owners and landlords and, you know, our clients. And so we kind of do everything. And we also do this inspection, you know, right before we get, you know, our clients moved in. So I mean, I feel like Alex has kind of prepared us, and like, you know, we have our own little checklist on what we need to do and make sure that we have. So it's gonna be kind of interesting. I feel like, you know, now it seems like it might be a little more thorough. Um, I think for like, you know, a con side is we're one person, and how much influence are we going to be able to get these property managers and owners to want to make these changes if that's needed. Um, so yeah, thanks.
Great. So that covered Allison, Carlos, and Alex. What about who else is here? Shane? Is Isabel still here? Shane, who
Yeah,
else?
so I can start. So directly me, probably I don't really have a direct role in any sort of inspections. I'm sort of going to be the go-between between you guys and our service providers that'll be doing most of the direct work. So we kind of got added onto the Zoom late, so everybody else that probably needed to be on this meeting were unable to attend.
Got it. Isabel, you're with Life Moves as well?
Hi, sorry, I'm here. I just stepped away for a moment. I think I missed the question.
Yeah, the question is just like, what's your role with all of this, with Nspire and housing inspections?
Yeah, so I'm actually a housing specialist, so this has been a lot of great information.
Awesome.
Hi, I also have a question.
Yeah.
So now that we're implementing this new HUD guidelines or HUD inspection, what have you felt like? What's been the main reason why things had to like these new implementation had to take place, and what are some areas you felt like um that needed the most improvement on, right? Since you know, or what you feel, what have you been like? I guess my question is why these new implementations, even though they're great and I know it's very needed, but what are some things that you feel like, okay, definitely this needs to change, or this is why we're doing this, right? Um, because I know sometimes, inspections, it's people do it differently. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think you answered your own question, Carlos. I think that there has been, I think, first of all, there were so many different inspection types for different properties, so different types of HUD programs. So like I explained in the beginning, you know, public housing had their own standards, CPD had their own standards, HOPWA had their own, everybody, HCV had their own standards. So these standards now go across all HUD inspections for all HUD programs. So I think that's one thing, is just the continuity across HUD programs. But I also think it was necessary in so much as, depending on what housing authority or what program people were expecting, there were different like criteria on whether or not it was 24 hours or it was 30 days and so this new set of standards makes it very plain and very explicit on, what's 30 days, what's what has to be fixed in 24 hours. And I think even on each standard, there are different time limits depending on the severity of the standard. So it's just much more cut and dry, very plain for anybody to understand and also implement. So I think HUD was just trying to make it easier and less arbitrary for folks to like make their own rules up about inspections and whether folks have to, you know, whether landlords have to fix it in 30 days or never.
I think it's great how you brought that up because sometimes the turnaround to get things fixed is usually like a little bit longer than the expected time. So I think putting an emphasis, okay, you have 24 hours to get this thing fixed, especially if it's something like a light bulb or something small like that. That usually some people, okay, yeah, give us till the end of the week when it's just a light bulb. I think it's good how we're implementing this new structure. So thank you.
And if I can add, I think one other change or reason why this is shifting to Nspire is kind of the shift in focus. There's a big shift in the focus to resident health and safety. So shifting away from just checking off the, basic standards, the HQS standards, to looking at, does this where does this fall in terms of supporting the health and safety of the resident? Trying to shift that focus. Are there any other questions y'all have? Like, have any questions or thoughts about how to work best with? I know you're probably both working with property owners to get a property that you want to place somebody in up to the quality standards, but also working with program participants, right? So, y'all have any questions or thoughts around working with both property owners and program participants around these standards or around inspections?
I think this is Gina from DOH. Um, the reason that I'm interested in this Inspire training is mostly because I manage the fund, the ESG funds for our department, and I need to be aware of the regulations and have a little bit more detailed understanding, especially around when we're, evaluating different aspects of programs. So it's good that I have that knowledge. And as we speak, I'm using all your links to grow make my little database. So anyway, thank you so much.
Yeah, and we will send out all of those links as well. I think we'll probably send out at least to all of you who are participating, whoever we have contact with. And we're recording this as well. So.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all have any other thoughts or questions, any like circumstances that you've had difficulty, like even, as, previously with HQS or in terms of addressing that you might have questions about?
Devra, I was gonna ask, I mean, not to ask a different question, but like maybe in addition to Devra's question, um, was there anything that like Nicole shared in like the components or like the standards that made you feel kind of concerned or like maybe question how am I going to implement this? What's kind of the right way to move forward on this? Did anybody sort of like have that thought or feeling like during any of the like kind of components or standards that Nicole shared?
I think for me, it's just a little questionable, right? We work for a nonprofit. I feel like we're gonna have to gain a lot of tools, to you know thoroughly check off this checklist, right? Like one thing that I'm kind of thinking is like when it comes to like mold and stuff, like that's gonna put our ourselves at risk, excuse me. And then, like, I mean, the electrical outlet socket, checking to make sure that, um, just kind of like the, the low key hazards, right? That's my only kind of concern is just how are we gonna thoroughly confirm and pass these units. Like obviously it's not going to be a big deal, but I think just that adjustment phase, and then it sounds like maybe there's going to be a completely new checklist. So I think just getting in the routine of the new checklist that we're going to have available to go over. So that's kind of it.
Those are great ones. Thank you for sharing those, Allison. Yeah. One thing I wanted to mention, and there's more, we'll have more information about this soon, but I think our intention is, especially because like the compliance data is so up in the air right now, and we're sort of missing some guidance for CPD programs. Our intention is to do some follow-ups to this. So yeah, I think like we're gonna ask you for feedback about like what that follow-up should include. So yeah, those would be great things to list there. So yeah, thank you for sharing those.
And I know some of you are like ingrained in HQS inspections right now. So like if there are things that, you see a lot as you're doing HQS inspections, like maybe having a list of those things so that we can like do a crosswalk to Nspire might be helpful for you all. Especially, as these new standards come out, because it is a lot, and it's, it's new. And I think, this compliance date up in the air is maybe part of that. We hope that's why HUD is doing it. But like, what are some of the things that you all see a lot of now, that may be something that like immediately you'll need crosswalk to Nspire would be helpful, as we like look at the next training or series of trainings for you all. And as I was given the training, I think one of the things that stood out for me, like I was going through the training, was like, what are the tools that, maybe you use now or don't use now in HQS that are, like for the mold, whatever the reader is that you would need for that. But like the socket thing, see how I don't know any of what it's called, the socket thing. But like those type of things would be, I think would be helpful. Like, what are the tools? What the checklist? I think there was a video online that HUD had about the tools that you would need, how to use the checklist, how to, like I mentioned before, how to move around the unit, how to move around while you're doing the inspection. I mean, and it's a lot, right? That's 63 things I keep saying 63, but like there's these 63 things, but like, how can we get you to the things that you need immediately without having to go through all of the things?
Yeah, and I know that there's a lot of information that I know I've been posting like all these different links. But hopefully it'll be helpful to look at. I just posted that page that Nicole had the video that she showed earlier. That page has like all these a lot of different videos of how to inspect different areas. So to look at those tools as you're preparing for an inspection. And yeah, and hopefully, I think we believe that HUD is going to also be releasing more specific checklists and tools specifically for CPD programs that, you know, so for rapid rehousing, permanent supportive housing programs.
I kind of just want to share this because as we're talking and like collaborating, like my thought process right now is kind of going like I'm questioning how many current are they gonna have everybody currently like be re-inspected according to these guidelines? Like, you know, like I'm just kind of letting my mind wander, but I'm like, you know, I'm like thinking like how many current, you know, individuals who are housed right now are living in units where they won't pass inspection, like kind of like I'm letting my mind really go. But like, you know, what is that process gonna look like for those families? Is that gonna, you know, inflict more, you know, are they gonna no longer have secure housing? Like I'm kind of just in this little spin right now. Sorry. But just like bringing up all these things, like currently, are we doing re-inspections for units, you know, things like that. I mean, I feel like for me, it might be a little different because we are rapid rehousing. So obviously the initial inspection to move in and then we usually do a final inspection with us and then the client will transition. So I know that we'll do two, but I'm like, what happens in the midst? So that's just kind of like my thought right now.
That's a great question. I thought the same thing. Like what, you know, as you're doing these preliminary, you know, in the implementation kind of like guidelines, they talk about doing these, you know, inspections to get familiar, but like what happens? Are we inflicting more harm on our residents if they're gonna have to move, or landlords are not gonna fix the things that are now required to be fixed? And I would hope that HUD, and it's not specific in the regulations on how, you know, these they're supposed to be effective October 1st, maybe not. But is that for new inspections? Is that for annual inspections? Do you have to start annual inspections October 1? I think that's all part of the question mark bubble over our heads. And also, I think also like the outreach and knowledge that landlords are going to have now, right? Because there's going to be some change in the way that they have to do business as they work with, you know, rapid rehousing and housing choice voucher and project-based voucher holders, in terms of like fixing things and making sure that units are safe for residents. And these requirements and Nspire are different from HQS. There are some similarities, but there are some differences and some more stringent or less stringent timelines to fix things. So getting landlords familiarized with that, you know, as soon as possible is going to be really important. Plus the residents, so that they know, you know, what they need to do and how they need to move with their landlords. Was there anything missing from today that you all think should be included for like this high level training for folks moving forward?
I don't know that anything's missing at the moment. I think we'll figure out more as we sort of walk through this process. Um, but right now the thing that I'm thinking is how am I gonna begin updating my guidelines is kind of where I'm at with this. Not that I'm concerned, I'm sure it'll be easily done, but um I do appreciate you mentioning that at the beginning of the presentation because I'm like, oh yes, I forgot. It's been there like a little placeholder for the Inspire, but I'm like, oh, now I need to put stuff in there. It can't be a placeholder anymore. So, yeah.
I just want to say thank you guys. You guys are not the ones who have all the answers. You're just here providing us with the information. So I just wanted to take a second and let you guys know that. Thank you. Nobody likes change, nobody likes adjustment periods, but at the end of the day, like, thank you guys for preparing us for what is to come.
Also want to say, as this process moves forward, we will continue, or at least our team will continue, are continuing to work with San Mateo. So I'll post in the chat again, but how you can contact us for as you go through this, if you need TA, if you have questions, how to contact our San Mateo team as well as Nicole. Any other questions or thoughts before we tie up our time together today? Nicole, you have any parting words?
I think I have lots of words already, Deborah.
Well, we're definitely going to, try to stay on top of, especially this, is it October 1st coming up in a couple weeks, or is it in a couple years with February 2027 when you actually need to implement this? And also looking more into, some of the questions that have come up. So feel free to reach out to us as those questions come up as you start to work with property owners and participants to implement this and do your inspections. Garen, I think you have.
Yeah, I came off mute
Okay.
just to say, before you leave, I'm gonna launch like a feedback survey. So just please take a moment. It's just a few questions and just tell us what you thought about the training. That also includes that item that I mentioned earlier to sort of like let us know what additional resources you're looking for, what would be helpful as like a follow-up.
y'all, I think it looks like most of you have answered, but I think we still have that up. Also just want to do a little plug before you leave us for the day. For Homebase also has a newsletter that we publish that has lots of info on a lot of different topics that relate to your program. So I'm putting that sign up link here as a little nudge to if you're not already on our newsletter, sign up for it. It has a lot of great info coming out. Any other parting thoughts? Okay, then I'm gonna thank Nicole for really like taking the lead on all of this, providing us with all of your wisdom and knowledge from your many years in the field. And thank you all for taking your time to be with us today. Definitely reach out if you have questions, and we'll send out that, some follow-up with the links and all that fun information for your reference. Take care and take it easy.
Thank you guys again. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Take care.